Hey, you. Always got your ear to the ground for what's next, haven't you? Especially, when it comes to big celebratory moments.
hmm
Well, we've stumbled upon a trend that's starting to gain serious traction for 2025, and I think it's a fascinating collision of styles. Castlecore weddings.
Yeah, Castle Core. It's what's intriguing right off the bat is the blend of historical vibes we're seeing. Like
Uh,
when you hear Castle Core, you probably picture medieval grandeur, maybe even a touch of Gothic drama.
right.
But the source we're delving into today, it's a great piece from the Darianna Bridal and Tuxedo blog, highlights a surprising and, well, elegant twist the opulence of the Great Gatsby era woven right in.
Exactly. So we're talking rich, deep colors, those wonderful, slightly rough-hewn textures that evoke history, and definitely some dramatic silhouettes. But then it's all elevated with this real upscale, almost Art Deco-inspired flair.
hmm
Our mission in this deep dive is to really unpack the DNA of this castle core aesthetic for weddings, pulling out all the essential elements from this bridal shop's insights. If you're wondering how you fuse uh, knights and flapper dresses in the most stylish way possible, you're in the right place.
Definitely.
Okay, let's get into the bedrock of any wedding, the venue.
Yeah, the blog makes a crucial point here.
Yeah.
The venue is absolutely foundational for establishing that castle core atmosphere. We're talking about spaces that, whisper tales of the past and exude a sense of majesty.
Totally.
Naturally, actual ancient castles come to mind, particularly those boasting architectural gems like stained glass windows.
Mm.
But it's not solely about grand, sprawling castles.
Right, and the article provides some fantastic local touchstones for those of you around Philadelphia. They mention the Marion Tribute House in Marion Station, which has this incredible historic character.
Okay.
Then there's Fonthill Castle in Doylestown, and I mean, the name is practically the theme.
Yeah, exactly.
And even the Baldwin School in Bryn Mawr, with its impressive architecture, could provide that perfect backdrop. It's about identifying a space that resonates with history and maybe has a bit of inherent drama in its design.
Right. And if we connect this to a broader idea, you can see how these strong architectural elements, the stonework, the soaring ceilings, perhaps some intricate carvings, really set the stage for the entire thematic experience.
Mm-hmm.
The blog also touches on the seasonality, suggesting that October or November would be particularly spectacular.
Oh, without a doubt. Just picture those incredibly rich autumn hues,
Yeah.
the deep burgundies, fiery oranges, and burnished golds interacting with the whole medieval feeling. It's a natural harmony.
Totally.
But the article also points out that spring and summer months can certainly work, just with a slightly different lens.
Yes, for a castle core wedding in the spring or summer, the blog proposes a more subdued color story, perhaps leaning into softer pastels and more neutral tones.
Interesting.
This approach could emphasize the more romantic, almost fairy tale aspects of the theme, perhaps softening some of the starker Gothic undertones.
Yeah.
It raises an interesting question, doesn't it? How do different seasons influence our interpretation of such a visually rich aesthetic?
That's a great point. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all historical vibe. Okay, now let's move on to what many consider the centerpiece, the wedding dress. What does the castle core bride wear to embody this unique style?
Well, what's immediately striking is the blog's emphasis on drama and luxurious fabrics. They specifically highlight satin or silk ball gowns as essential for capturing that authentic medieval charm.
Hmm.
We're talking about gowns that command attention, that have a real sense of occasion and weight to them.
And it's all in the intricate details, isn't it? The article lays out some absolutely gorgeous fabric options to consider. Jacquard, Chantilly lace, floral lace applique, shimmering metallic embroidery, and of course, timeless pearls.
Yeah.
These textures and embellishments really elevate the gown and bring in that upscale flair they talked about.
Precisely. Think about how these opulent details would have been highly valued in historical garments. The intricate weave of jacquard, the delicate artistry of lace, the subtle gleam of metallic threads, they all contribute to this feeling of richness and history.
Definitely.
And the blog also calls out some distinctive features in terms of the dress's shape and design.
Yes. Those Belle or Juliet sleeves just instantly transport you to another era. And corset bodices with those gorgeous lace-up backs, so undeniably medieval.
Right.
They also mention square and keyhole necklines and the use of multiple layers of fabric, all working together to create that dramatic, textured visual.
And let's not forget the basque waist. The blog rightly emphasizes its historical relevance to the periods they're drawing from, and, interestingly, its current resurgence in popularity.
Oh, yeah.
It's a perfect example of how historical fashion trends circle back. The way it cinches the waist and then flares out creates a very flattering and historically appropriate silhouette. It makes you wonder what other historical silhouettes might be poised for a comeback.
Definitely food for thought. Okay, so the dress is a statement piece, full of texture and historical nods, but no royal ensemble is complete without the perfect accessories. What does the blog suggest to really complete the castlecore bridal look?
Ah, the accessories. This is where you can truly amplify and personalize the theme. For headpieces, they suggest a range, from delicate crowns adorned with floral engravings for a more subtle touch,
Mm-hmm.
to full, elaborate crowns featuring gold filigree and sparkling gemstones, really embracing that regal presence. Or, for a softer, more enchanting feel, they propose wildflower crowns incorporating elements like fragrant lavender, earthy rosemary, and trailing ivy.
Oh, I absolutely love the vision of that wildflower crown for a slightly more whimsical and less overtly formal interpretation.
Yeah, me too.
And the mantilla of the blog highlights that as such a lovely and romantic addition, especially if you're drawn to the more gothic aspects of the aesthetic.
Exactly. It introduces another layer of visual interest and romance. For earrings, the recommendation is for long and ornate chandelier styles, again echoing those filigree patterns or featuring gemstones that harmonize with the chosen headpiece. It's all about building a cohesive and opulent overall picture.
And they don't stop at the obvious. The blog also suggests coordinating jewelry like elegant chokers and perhaps even striking arm cuffs, which really lean into that medieval sense of adornment.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought the idea of lace or sheer fingerless gloves or even customized detachable sleeves was a really creative touch. You can really play with different textures and levels of formality with those additions.
Precisely. It's about thoughtfully layering details that feel both inspired by history and intentionally stylish for today. Now, what about the other half of this royal duo? What direction does the blog give for the groom's attire in a castlecore wedding?
Good question. For the groom, the blog offers a clear and impactful suggestion. They specifically point to a jacket in a rich, dark green, deep burgundy, or classic black velvet.
Ooh, velvet. Nice.
Yeah, that velvet texture immediately brings in that feeling of luxury and aligns perfectly with the deep, saturated color palettes often associated with both medieval and Gothic aesthetics.
It's a sophisticated choice that beautifully complements the bride's dramatic gown without competing for attention. The emphasis is on those sumptuous fabrics and those deeply evocative colors that speak to the theme.
All right, so we've got the regal attire covered. But how do you translate this aesthetic into the dining experience? What kind of menu feels right for a castlecore celebration?
The blog offers some wonderfully atmospheric ideas here. For a wedding taking place in the fall or winter, they suggest embracing medieval-inspired dishes like hearty stews and freshly baked bread.
Mm-hmm.
It's food that feels substantial, it has a rustic charm, and it undeniably fits that historical context.
It really does. You can almost picture your guests gathered in a grand hall enjoying a comforting stew on a crisp autumn evening. It all works together to create an immersive experience.
Exactly.
And what about the drinks to toast the happy couple?
Beer and mulled wine are the recommendations, which again feel perfectly in tune with the theme.
Classic.
And I particularly love this suggestion they propose having signature cocktails named after the couple, perhaps something grand like the King's Ransom and the Queen's Elixir.
That's absolutely brilliant. It's a playful nod to the theme that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Right. Fun detail.
Now, the blog also touches on those extra layers of detail that can really solidify a wedding theme. Let's delve into those more info points, starting with the all-important wedding cake.
Yes, the cake. It's envisioned as a towering centerpiece, described as needing to emulate a tall castle tower. So, a multi-tiered cake is really essential here.
Okay.
It visually reinforces that castle imagery and becomes a real focal point of the reception.
Makes perfect sense. It's not just a dessert, it's part of the visual story. And what about setting the tone right from the moment guests receive their invitations?
The suggestion is parchment paper adorned with wax seals, elegant gold edging, and beautiful calligraphy. These tactile and visual details immediately communicate a sense of history, formality, and old-world charm, giving guests their first glimpse into the aesthetic you're creating.
Oh, I can just imagine receiving one of those exquisite invitations. And for a bit of interactive fun during the reception, the blog mentions incorporating a photo booth. What kind of props do they suggest to keep it on theme?
To fully embrace the castlecore vibe, They recommend props like majestic regal crowns, perhaps some toy swords for playful poses, and luxurious velvet robes that guests can don.
None.
These allow for fun-themed photo opportunities and create memorable keepsakes for everyone.
Definitely great for capturing some lighthearted moments amidst the grandeur. And for those thoughtful little thank you gifts, what kind of favors would align with this aesthetic?
The blog offers some lovely and thematic ideas. Perhaps beautifully crafted handmade soaps, miniature lantern candles that cast a warm glow, or even custom-designed edible favors like intricately decorated cookies or rich chocolates.
Nice touches.
These are all thoughtful gestures that subtly tie into the overall theme, either through their craftsmanship or their evocative nature.
And finally, for anyone feeling inspired and wanting to dive even deeper into this trend, where does the blog suggest they look for more inspiration?
They specifically recommend exploring Pinterest theme boards and relevant TikTok hashtags. These online platforms are invaluable resources for gathering visual inspiration and for seeing how other couples and creators are interpreting the castle core trend,
Right, the visual aspect.
including some fantastic DIY ideas and resourceful approaches.
That's incredibly helpful, especially the DIY aspect, suggesting the use of things like atmospheric candles, plush pillows, decorative lanterns, and even colored ornaments to really bring the theme to life without necessarily requiring a royal budget.
Exactly. It really highlights how adaptable and achievable this aesthetic can be, even by focusing on those smaller, impactful details within your chosen venue.
Well, we sincerely hope this deep dive into the captivating castlecore wedding aesthetic has provided you with a really comprehensive understanding of this emerging trend, drawing directly from the insights of our source. It's a truly fascinating blend of historical romance and elevated contemporary style.
It is, and what's been particularly insightful to observe is how this distinct aesthetic is constructed from such a diverse array of elements, ranging from the sweeping grandeur of the venue right down to the intimacy of the wedding favors.
Yeah.
It really underscores the power of intentional and thoughtful detail in creating a truly immersive experience.
Absolutely. It's about crafting a cohesive and unforgettable atmosphere. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering how these rich historical aesthetics can be reimagined and reinterpreted for our modern celebrations,
Okay.
what other historical styles do you think might be on the cusp of a resurgence in popularity, and what key elements would define their contemporary revival? We'd love to hear your thoughts.